Self-directed IRAs. Ever heard of that? Probably not. Self-directed IRAs are not a common thing. It's non-traditional. Uncle Bob, your coworker, your parents, they probably don't know about it and they don't talk about it. And it is a massive, massive gain to know about the self-directed IRA. You have exposure to investing your money in all sorts of other methods that you don't normally have exposure to. Real estate, crypto, private equities, venture capitalism, gold, silver, you name it. These are all things that you can buy within a self-directed IRA and just step into another league of investments. If you've got a 401k, we all know those are very basic investment tools. And depending on your company and the way they set everything up with your 401k, you probably have a limited, I think I have 32 choices with my 401k. 32, that's it, on index funds and stuff like that to choose from. It is total weak sauce. And when you get to a certain level in investing and you know about certain stocks or ETFs or mutual funds, whatever, you name it, there's a million other things out there that you could be investing in that are making way more than what just your traditional 401k is offering. That's why I advocate a self-directed IRA. When you get to that point, when you get savvy enough as an investor or serious enough, you want to just get serious. You get into your 40s and you're like, man, I don't want to retire at 65. I want to retire at 50 or 55. That's when you got to become a G. That's when you got to start doing your homework. Your spare time, you're not scrolling. You're not wasting your time on your lunch breaks. You get home in the evening and you're not lollygagging, dude. You got to start paying attention to the news. You got to watch what Donald Trump's doing. You got to know what geopolitical things are going on. You got to know what interest rates are doing, because these are all things that affect the markets, and you've got to get savvy. But it becomes fun. It becomes a hobby. I hardly do any of the things that you see in the background. All these hobbies, barely get to do them. It's fine. I'll get back to them someday. But right now, you got to sometimes put your head down and get into things. But so the self-directed IRA is something that you can invest. There's 10 different things at least. You can invest into real estate. You can pay cash. Say you got $1 million or 500,000. You want to buy a piece of real estate, cash. You pay cash for it. If that's what you have in your self-directed IRA, you can pay cash for that piece of real estate. Maybe you got a killer deal, but you personally don't have the money. So you can go to your self-directed IRA, buy that piece of property, cash flow, all the income goes right back to that self-directed IRA. If this is how you want to invest, that's how you want to invest. You invest in things that interest you. And if it's real estate, buy real estate. Cash flow your $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month, whatever it is, and send that back. It all has to go back to your self-directed IRA. Or you can buy gold and silver. You can buy crypto. You can buy Bitcoin. You can buy into private equities. You can invest into companies, venture capitalism. You can buy promissory notes. The list goes on. But I'm telling you, this is just insane to me that I don't know one person besides myself that is invested in a self-directed IRA. It is insane. Nobody knows about it. But the way you want to get into it is you can personally finance it. You can open an account, start sending, if you're self-employed, You can send straight money. If you get a self-directed Roth IRA, even better. You're already taxed on that money, and that money grows in there tax-free from there on out. So you can get the traditional, or you can get the Roth self-directed IRA. You can, like I said, if you're self-employed, send them money and start investing in that account. If you don't already have a resource, this is how I had a resource, and this is how a lot of people have this capability. They worked for somebody else. They changed jobs. Maybe they never rolled that old 401k, so you got a couple $100K, $50K, whatever it is, sitting in. Oh, there's a cat just walked in my garage. Say there's $100K sitting in this old 401k for this company you used to work with, right? It's just sitting there, not really growing, not invested. Well, that is the perfect scenario. I had a previous employer. I had money sitting there. I learned about the self-directed IRA, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to roll that chunk of change into a self-directed IRA. I sent the money over to that company. I use Equity Trust Company. It's a big company. I think they're based out of Florida, but they have big holdings. They manage a lot of people's money and seems to be a good company. And I started buying gold and silver. I bought crypto. When my money gets to a certain point, I'll probably start diversifying a little bit more and get some real estate. Not sure. But you have exposure. With your traditional 401k or your current 401k that's sponsored by your company, you don't have exposure to shit. It's like they don't want you to retire. They want to keep you working. They want you making minimal returns. It's crazy. It really is crazy. So get exposed to a self-directed IRA, Roth or traditional. Start looking into it. YouTube it. YouTube's beautiful for everything. We all know that. So start getting your head in your game. In your 40s, it's gonna click. You're gonna go, holy shit, I need to think about retirement. I don't want to work another 25 years. There's no effing way. If you're my generation, you're Gen X, you've already worked for 30 years. I've been working since I was 14, 15 years old, nonstop. I'm 46, over it. And I've got my money in places right now. Bitcoin is the best performing asset on the planet. The infrastructure, the economy is growing. Donald Trump just came into office. Everybody knows it's the crypto, the whole crypto thing is just blowing up with Donald Trump. It's like insider trading. It's unreal with the transparency of this cabinet right now and what they're talking about doing. It's unreal. If you're not in the crypto game, I should say Bitcoin specifically. Bitcoin has the most value out of all the cryptos. Man, and you could do that with a self-directed IRA. Or however you want. Gold, we know gold is on a freaking rant right now. It's up 60% in the last year and a half. And it's not going to stop because every country is just debasing their dollar. Everybody's fiat currency is trash. So that's why everybody wants Bitcoin or gold. So you can buy those assets. Anyways, let me just tell you all a little bit of this is my little breakdown, a little chart here. Okay, when you are I was supposed to have a little arrow here. When you're under 40, okay, retirement is barely a thought. Really, it is. It just you still feel like you've got 100 years to live and plan and this and that, and so you don't take things very seriously. When you're 40, you're honestly, you're on the pendulum size, you're closer to 20. You're mentally, you feel like high school was yesterday. You're just not getting that aggressive. You're probably putting minimum contributions and effort into your 401k. If you have a job or whatever, you're self-employed, it doesn't matter. If you're probably minimum efforts and thoughts going into the future. And again, this other way, you've got a 3, somewhere 3.8, 3.9, right? That's your age. You honestly, your mentality is still very youthful. And your effort level is very low. And this is where I kick myself. I put very minimal effort, contributions wise, and paying attention. I was just had my head in the sand. I didn't know anything about the stock market. I just knew I was putting money in my 401k. That's sad. And it always bothered me. I always knew that if I was getting a couple percent more or putting in a couple percent more, how detrimental that would be. And I ignored it. I didn't have anybody like me pushing me to do that. So that's why I want to push you Gen Zers, push you Gen Xers, millennials. I want to push you that putting in 2% more a year, and then next year another 2%, and then push for not an 8% annual rate of return, push for a 10 or a 12. That's minimal, dude. We want 20%. In these days and age, with AI and crypto, you could be getting 20, 30, 60% returns on your money. Do that for the next 5 years at a maximum contribution. Bro, you can retire 5-10 years early, easy. All right, so 40, okay? You click 40 in one day, you start thinking you're 40, 41, 45. You're like, okay, I'm getting old. Now your mentality shifts to, I'm a goddamn senior citizen. My brain is closer to a 65-year-old's than when it was over here where you felt like you're 20. Boom, 40 in one day. Now all of a sudden you're 60. Now you're wanting senior citizen discounts at Denny's. It's insane. But you realize, holy crap, the timer, the clock is ticking. It's time to get serious. So, holy shit, I want to retire kicks in, okay? Or I want to retire wealthier. I want to retire sooner, whatever it is. But that kicks in real quick in your 40s, okay? It is time to become a G. You got to start putting money aside, and you've got to look for the best investment out there possible. How am I going to do this? Okay? That's what you wonder. Your traditional 401k, those mutual funds or index funds, or that like 2045, whatever that date is that you targeted, when you signed up for your 401k with your employer, and they're like, well, what year do you want to retire? For me, it was 2045. It was always in this 2045 account. Weak sauce returns, okay? Plus, it's just sitting in this account managed by your Fidelity, Vanguard, whoever, right? And there was years that I'd see a 2% return. 2%. There was years that I was in the negatives. And that's my fault for not having my money on my mind. My mind is on my money 24/7 now. And it's insane how much, if you know what's growing out there, you pay attention to the president, the people, the Secretary of Commerce, the Secretary of Treasury, the Secretary of the Department of Energy, all these people, you pay attention to them and what companies they were CEOs, because at one point they were a CEO of a company. They may have stepped aside during being in office, but they're gonna compliment those companies they worked for, okay? So I'm just saying, you start paying attention with YouTube, social media. There's no barriers. There's no, back in the day, they had to read things, a couple days later in the newspaper. I mean, there's just so much, and with Trump right now, the transparency, he has these daily meetings in front of the news and the media just talking about what he's doing. It's insane. And honestly, I believe Trump. I'm not this hardcore bleed Trump guy, but he wants the middle class and the lower class to win. He knows were swamped and we got squeezed out of the system by taxes and inflation. So you start paying attention, the winning is there. And in the next 5 to 10 years, I know for sure, especially with Bitcoin, people, get in the Bitcoin game. All right, I'm done. I'm done talking. I just want everybody to know that this shit right here is real, and how I step my game up and how I plan on retiring. I'm 46, I said that already. I'm gonna try to retire at 50. It might be 55, but I sure as shit ain't gonna retire at 65, okay? So, and the way I'm doing this is by being very aggressive. And yeah, it's kind of scary. I've already lost, some money in doing things and learning kind of the hard way. But maybe I'll have another, little plug on that, investing, making some of these investments in my self-directed IRA where I didn't know anything about certain things and it bit me. But, okay, I've already gained way more than I lost. That's the point. And you'll learn this. But if you don't, you're just going to go down that, you're going to be 65, 70 years old, retiring with barely enough, just enough money to sit on the couch and go, okay, this is what I get to do until I die. Because really, everybody, I'd say 90% of people that retire, they're so scared of running out of money, all they do is sit on the couch. Okay, they're not out living. You want to live. You want to live at 55, 60, 65, somewhere where you're still, you're not glued to the couch. You want to enjoy yourself. So start going for it. Message me in comments if you have any questions about self-directed IRAs. I'd love to answer it. I love talking about this stuff. Finances is my bag. And so, yeah, leave me a comment, like, share, subscribe, whatever, please, helps me out. Cheers, guys.